Executive session were limited to those specified in the motion for closure. No other topics were discussed and no other business matters were conducted, nor any action taken. All right, and that concludes the work session hour. Moving on to our regular board meeting. All right, we'll go ahead and call this regular meeting to order. And we will start with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adoption of the agenda. President Armijo, members of the board, on the agenda under board policy, C, discussion second read, that should say AD, educational philosophy, Adam David. So discussion second read, AD, educational philosophy. And under D, action, AD, educational philosophy. All right, any other modifications, changes? President, there are not, so I recommend adoption of the agenda with the changes presented. All right, so the recommendation from Superintendent Viviano to approve the agenda with the change under board policy on items C and D to reflect the alphas of Adam and David, so AD in place of just A. So I'll need a motion for approval.
I move that we adopt the agenda with the changes.
And a second? Second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. All members in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, very good. Welcome to everybody. We're going to do our best to get through this. That dry cough, that one right there, has been plaguing just about, it seems like everyone. So bear with us if we do tend to veer and take a second to catch our breath and whatnot. But I just wanted to welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it very much. Humbled by your presence. We'll definitely keep some cough drops on hand. I wanted to take this time to congratulate the new board members that were elected. Mr. Chavez got re-elected. Lindsay Donner. Mr. Lossing is here, as well as, I believe, did I see Denny Young? Yep, there he is. So congratulations. Thank you for putting your names out there. And to those that were unsuccessful, I want to thank them as well. It takes a lot of courage to put your name in the hat for such a role. There's a lot of responsibilities that I think the general public doesn't quite understand necessarily. I think there are people who do understand it, but our roles are very limited by statute. And so the challenges of bringing local control while maintaining legality, makes it interesting. So to all who participated in the election, I appreciate everyone doing so. So with that, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy yourself. I was a little bit worried when I wore this shirt because this might be the only fall colors I have. So if you see me on social media on Thursday and I'm wearing the same shirt, don't pass any judgment, please. So anyways, welcome and thank you for being here. All right, moving on, sir, to approval of minutes.
President Armijo, I recommend approval of minutes from our regular meeting of October 17th, 2023.
So we have a recommendation from Superintendent Viviano to approve the draft of the regular meeting minutes from October 17th, 2023. Are there any questions, changes, modifications? If there are none, I'll need a motion for approval.
I so move.
All right, need a second?
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, the minutes approved. Moving on to citizen comment. Two. So Thomas Bateman?
My approach.
Yep, go ahead and come up. We have 2 minutes.
So I asked for this audience for the board to request that the boundaries of South Mountain Elementary be altered slightly to not go through Walmart and the empty parking lot behind to accommodate the children that go to Loving Arms Daycare. There's multiple children that need to go there, including my son. We don't have an aftercare other than that place. There's only limited daycares in Edgewood, and that being one of them. And so I just request that the boundaries be altered. I'm not asking that it takes away from Route 66, maybe they can share. But, you know, it is that daycare is in the town proper of Edgewood, and this is Moriarty Edgewood School District. And so it kind of makes sense, and I'm sure the bus has to go down Church Street just to make it over to Maple Road and Duncan Road as well. And so it would accommodate a lot of families. So I just ask respectfully that you guys maybe help us out by altering the boundaries slightly. Thank you.
Thank you. Judging by the scribble. Tom Sullivan.
Well, good evening, and thank you, Mr. Armijo. As you know, I'm a recovering superintendent, and I think I'm deeply committed to this entire community. We have an interesting mix. We have outgoing board members, incoming board members, and those that are staying. And I just wanted to say thank all of those 3 groups for, as Charles said, to Mr. President Armijo, putting your name out there. It's scary, and it's a thankless job. I got paid to do it for you. You know, you represented the community, I represented the community, but you were doing it for free. And I just want you to know I appreciate that. And the other thing is where our interests have intersected recently. You probably know what I'm talking about. The feud is probably still ongoing. I'll be honest, I've taken some measure of satisfaction with the outgoing role of I think a person who is disruptive with the community and the town of Edgewood. But I would just ask the new board members to build upon the successes of your predecessors and believe that they've always been acting in the best interest of the kids in this entire district. So thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I might come back just to say hello and give Mr. Adams a hard time.
All right.
That's it, sir.
Moving on, yeah, superintendent board comments, accommodation. Student staff
Student
recognition.
staff recognition, President Armijo, members of the board. On the agenda, we have the Moriarty Edgewood School District FFA students who participated, did a wonderful job at the National Convention in Indianapolis. I was asked today to verify because of illnesses and some other situations that if we would be okay to bring them back in December and recognize them, so I absolutely said we would do that. Yeah, definitely, they did a great job. We had one of our students who represented the Moriarty Edgewood School District, Moriarty High School, who was a first-time ever national champion. So we have we have to bring them back. We have to bring them in December and recognize all the students that President Armijo, members of the board, members of the audience, we do have with us a student from Moriarty High School. We're very excited and to invite her, to recognize her for the work that she did, not just for Veterans Day, but around the recognition of veterans that are employed for the Moriarty Edgewood School District. And so if she wouldn't mind coming up, Maisie Cotello, right? Cotello. We'd like to present her because of her efforts and the action she took. And I'll let her explain a little bit more what she did to everyone in the audience if she doesn't mind. We'd like to present Maisie with this certificate of appreciation for the outstanding JROTC Learning Service Project that recognized the Armed Forces veterans employed by the Moriarty Edgewood School District. So here you go. You're welcome. You have the audience. Tell us a little bit about your learning service project, why you decided to do it, and how it came about.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
every year, the JROTC program at Moriarty High School has to put on a service learning project. This year, we decided to recognize the veterans at our school district. We decided this because we noticed that not many students nor staff knew that they were working with veterans or being taught by veterans. And with Veterans Day approaching, we thought that this would be a wonderful idea to not only thank them, but share their story. So at Moriarty High School specifically, we created storyboards for them, and we hung them up on the wall for students to see, to take a look at and say, oh, I didn't know he was a veteran. That's pretty cool, nice story. And then we also went around to each school and handed out certificates presented by the school district, JROTC program, and New Mexico Veteran Services. Robin Wilson worked with us to put that together. We handed them out to each school on November 10th. And yeah, we would like to see this happen in the future as well. We would like to expand it though to custodians and bus drivers and maintenance workers. So yeah, hopefully we can do this more in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sometimes some of the greatest things are right under our nose.
Right there.
And we don't even know it, take the time. That is beautiful. That is absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much for your project. I'm just blown away. That's amazing. Like I say, some things are just right there under our nose and we don't even know it, or take the time to acknowledge it, but someone like you brings it to our attention, and that is completely awesome. So thank you so much for that, for your work on it. That is really cool.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Maisie, for coming. Hope you're feeling better.
Yes.
She was a little under the weather as well when I invited her, and I apologize I couldn't make it because I was homesick that week. So, but thank you for the invite, and we do look forward to having conversations about expanding this to our other employees next Veterans Day. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well done. Very well done.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on, President Armijo, members of the board, MHS Student Council representatives, they're taking an early Thanksgiving. Mr. Adams?
They informed me today that they weren't going to be here tonight.
Okay, all right. So we'll work hard to get them here in December.
Yes, sir.
Give us an update on what's going on and what they've worked on through the fall semester.
All right. So moving on, principals and athletic director board reports. Do we have any questions, comments?
I would just like to thank the Route 66 PTO for inviting me to come to their Fall Harvest Carnival. That was a lot of fun. They put on quite the event, and I can't even remember how many people were there, but the facility was packed all night long. And then to thank the maintenance guys for coming on an emergency to come and help get power restored to one of the walls in the cafeteria. So thank you.
Any other questions, observations?
I just want to thank you all for your wonderful reports. You guys are keeping those schools busy and working hard at what you do, and the programs that you have, and the parent participation, the community participation. Your pictures are awesome. We just enjoy so much seeing what you all have going on in the schools, so thank you.
I would echo the same. I think, I really appreciate the reports. It's awkward in the summer when you're staring at a blank page, but your reports are very reflective of the life of what a school is. And so I definitely appreciate that. I definitely want to acknowledge in Mr. Anaya's report the academic accolades of our athletes.
Yes.
That is phenomenal. I mean, that I'm just blown away at their accomplishments. The student athlete is paramount, and to see those GPAs, it's just, it would be difficult to not acknowledge those accomplishments. Great work to our students, our coaches, and then the district for recognizing that and bringing it to the board's attention. So,
Yeah, and Mr. Nye apologizes. He is one of the victims of the bug and was not able to be here tonight, but I appreciate you recognizing the students that he presented for the report.
if any of you didn't have a chance to see them, these accomplishments are online at the website under the board, but there's numbers out there like 4039.
424, there was a 424, I think, yeah. It was amazing.
403, 408.
Yeah.
They're just unbelievable. They're very, very, very impressive. I think they reflect well on our district. So kudos to them. So, very good.
And I thought the red ribbon thing that Mr. G had at the middle school, to have that helicopter there and all that fun activity, that looked like the kids really had a good time. And congratulations for syncing up with Santa Fe on that as a possibility for some in-school activities or tutoring or whatever. That's awesome. Yeah.
All right. If there are no other questions or comments for principals, I think we'll move on to board president and Board of Education. Anything anybody's got? I pretty much said what I would. What was that?
Nothing to add to what we've already said.
Yeah, well, and that was the big piece there was just acknowledging our
Thanks for coming.
thank you, our candidates, they'll bring new dynamics, and I think the district should look forward to new ideas, and be open to the assets that each individual brings. I mean, that's the beauty in this process. I mean, and that's always been the beauty of our democracy. Every time I say democracy, I do get called out. We're a constitutional republic, but but it is the process. And so, sir, I also, Mr. Sullivan, appreciate your words and just acknowledging that it is that process, and that it takes some guts to put your name in the hat. And so I do look forward to see this district continue to move forward. Always putting kids first. I mean, ultimately, I think we can get stuck in the mud sometimes. Just I've always said it with adult problems. Adults tend to be the biggest hang up, and when adults can work together, kids win. So that's really about it from myself. So, any other comments? I'm trying to think. Did we do anything? Did we go anywhere? I mean, the election was big, but we've got our conference coming up. I think we'll talk about that in strategic planning. So I think it's safe to move on. Sorry.
All right, President Armijo, members of the board, I have a few items to report out. First of all, I'd like to, again, we started yesterday, but congratulate some of our schools for their new school designations. The 2023 New Mexico Vistas designations were released by the New Mexico Public Education Department. These designations have several matrix to them. These are public on the website, the New Mexico Vistas. Some of our schools, so elementary, may have 6 or 7 matrix, where our secondary and high school, or our middle school and high school have a little bit more because of graduation rates and whatnot. But I'd like to congratulate, here in the board meeting, the South Mountain Elementary School and the staff for last year, the work that they did, and they received a designation of excellence. That's a new designation. Last year, when we reported out our designations, Spotlight was the top designation, and so there are 80, what was it, I think Natalie said 84 schools within the state of New Mexico who received the excellence designation. I reached out to the public ed department to get some more specific data, because when you look at the public website, they'll have percentages of proficiency, but we also can get deeper into the data. And I received an email today and just some preliminary. Excellence means that a school is in the top 10% when you add up all those matrix and the math that they use to add those up. I'd like to congratulate Principal Gastonbeatty and Edgewood Middle School. They received the designation as a Spotlight School. And Spotlight this year is defined as one of the top 15%. So the top 25% schools get either excellence or Spotlight designation. And kudos and congratulations to all of our other schools. They are designated as traditional, which is really nice. When we look at just the overall designation and looking at some of the data, that means that we do not need intensive, or we're not designated as schools that need intensive help in certain categories. So not every school that is not in traditional, does that make sense? Right, or higher, they may have subcategories where they did not meet the matrix. It might be special education, it might be English learners, graduation rate, or it could be a combination. And so they were designated as schools with more intensive support that would be needed from the public ed department. So again, congratulations to all the principals and staff members and district team that worked on these, getting these schools to these designations. These are nice to have, these designations, traditional and higher. Looking at the data, we do still have some work. We have a lot of work and we talk about it, and we won't stop working to get our math, our reading proficiencies, our science proficiencies, and really target our attendance rates to get those up. So,
Very good.
all right.
Congratulations.
Yep, congratulations everyone.
Congratulations.
Well done, well done.
Yeah, jump in.
I want, President Armijo, members of the board, I want to let you know that we're continuing on with the 6-year study that we partnered with CBS. On November 28th, we will be pushing out a 6-question survey to parents and to students and teachers as well, right? And teachers as well. These are questions that the AAIS consultants have created for us, and it's more data collection for them. As well as on the 28th of November, AAIS will have individual one-on-one Zoom interviews with our principals. So we're still moving along in that process with the hope of a compilation of the data, getting reports by February or March, and then we can make decisions as a district based on what the data and what the recommendations may be, and move into some strategic planning for next year. Next one is just some information. We have these on some, well, we have this for sure, on the advanced planning. Our facility master plan meeting will be December 5th at 8 o'clock in this room. It'll be meeting number 4 designated, and we're going to be really drilling down into the options of what we want to move forward with the facility master plan. Meeting number 3, there were several options and recommendations that the committee had come up with. Capital AE had put together the presentation. We worked through it, and based on the conversations that we had, several more options were put out there on what we think we should do to move forward with our facility master plan. So we'll be drilling down pretty deep according to Capital AE on our next meeting. Principals will be meeting with me and my executive team primarily on December 8th, I have down, and this will be their mid-year meetings towards their evaluations. And then the last thing I want to let everyone know, especially the board members, we have signed a memorandum of agreement with Torrance County Emergency Management to be a secondary site from at Edgewood Middle School and also at Moriarty High School, in case there's inclement weather and they have to shut down the interstate. The city of Moriarty will be first to take any of the travelers into their civic center. If there's any overflow, then I'll be notified. We'll put in our team. Our team will go into action, and we'll open up the practice gyms and the main gym, or what other facilities that we may need. Again, we signed the memorandum of agreement, and it's going to go to the Torrance County Commission for their signature moving forward. And with that, that ends my report, sir.
All right, thank you so much for that. Any questions for Superintendent? All right, if there are none, I think we'll move on to Learning Services, Director of Learning Services Board Report. The one that was 5 pages long.
Yeah.
Yes.
There was data in there, Mr. President.
There was data. Any questions for Ms. Romero? Got any- Go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Romero, I was happy to see the 2 additions of the lineman is one of them, and then the AOPA, which is another one that is very exciting. What will the lineman, what will that actually entail?
Mr. President, members of the board, Ms. Hudson, we are excited. It's very, very beginning stages, but I met with the CFO of Central New Mexico Electric Company twice now, and Mrs. Sandoval has, she approached us about 2 months ago, wanting to, she had approached her board about their financial situation in an academic or an educational foundation that they hold. And they are also running up against the issue that they train apprentices and then they leave. So there's multiple reasons why, and they know why. They know some of those reasons, they acknowledge them. But they feel like if they got the word out to high school students, and high school students were made aware of what it is to be a lineman, what it is to be, I think, a groundsman, what that looks like, and really just some hands-on experiences, that they might have a better students, adults, young adults might have a better option of staying in the area and kind of, growing their own. And we totally agree, and it's a CTE program that we really want to investigate. C&M has a groundsman or a groundsman course that's 8 weeks long, and so we are trying to get in contact with the person that runs that, and then one of their master groundsmen, I don't know, master linemen, I don't know the terms, he is willing to come in and do some hands-on learning with students, and their field work is just right across the field. So students can literally walk over to Central New Mexico Electric Company. And so we're very excited to further this collaboration with them and hopefully be able to integrate some of that into our courses next year at the CTE program.
Thank you.
Yes,
That sounds great.
absolutely.
You got anything else for us?
The
Is
only
there anything
thing
you
that
want to highlight?
The only thing that I did leave off of my board report, and I greatly apologize, is just want to let everybody know that we are doing a required survey to all students, 3rd grade through 12th grade, and our staff on December 6th. It's a public education to wellness survey. It'll take about 10 to 15 minutes for students. It's electronic. They'll just go to a survey website, and they're questions about student wellness, social emotional learning, and it's created by the Public Education Department, and it will be going out to, students are mandatory, parents, staff are mandatory, and parents are optional. We chose not to survey our parents because we're going to be getting another survey for the AAIS 6-year study. So we felt like we did not want to overstep our survey bounds with parents. So I just wanted to, I was remiss in not putting that in my report.
All right. Any other questions? Mr. Romero?
Thank you.
Very good, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wall.
All right.
Moving on to business, Ms. Young, we have consent agenda finance items 1 through 4. President Armijo, I recommend approval of consent agenda finance items 1 through 4. Yes, sir.
Yep, there it is. All right, so we have a recommendation from Superintendent Viviano to approve consent agenda finance items 1 through 4. Do we have any questions? I'm going to peek at one thing real quick if I may. Just a second.
You're in trouble as well.
A little bit of lag, right?
Mhm.
Just want to make sure one thing that. Yep, okay. So I don't have any questions. I just wanted to confirm what I was looking at was.
Everybody was on the edge of their seat.
Crack my knuckles.
All right.
So we have the recommendation from the superintendent Viviano to approve consent agenda item 1 through 4. If there's no questions, I'll need a motion for approval.
I move that we that approve the consent agenda finance items 1 through 4.
And Mr. Chapman seconds. Yes. So we have a motion and a second. All members in favor, say aye.
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 Yeah.
All right.
All right, thank you. Revenue and expenditure reports.
Thank you.
Any questions on B or C? Seventeen? Anything to add?
All right. Audit committee.
And moving on to finance committee? Anything?
No. Mr. President, members of the board, I don't have an update on the finance committee. We've been literally buried up to our eyeballs in audit, though. We went right up to the wire this year for the first time ever, in my knowledge. With our auditors, we're not really sure what happened there, but good news is it's over. We had our exit last Tuesday. I can't disclose anything until the state auditor's office has approved it, and then the auditors will attend a board meeting to give you a full report on the full audit. It's confidential until the state auditor's office approves it. But we did complete it. It was submitted on time, early, but it was submitted on time. So now that that's over with and done with, we can focus on getting the finance committee up and operating properly. So.
We'll be all right.
Thank you. And President Armijo, if I may, thank board member Linda Hudson and Elizabeth House for participating on the audit committee throughout the year, as well as Mr. Lossing as a community member, and our other community members as well. Very good participation in the meetings I started attending, yeah.
Yes.
That's very good.
We've been on late notice.
All right. If there aren't any more questions, Director of Personnel Board report, Dr. Buckley. Any questions for Dr. Buckley? Anything you need to add, Dr. Buckley?
Nothing at this time.
Dr. Buckley, we are making progress, right, in filling those slots?
Yeah, and it fluctuates. But yes, we're trying.
Yeah, you are, yeah,
You'll be good.
yep.
Thank you.
With that being said, Member Hudson, and I know Mr. Dan Bell has his transportation report, but being able to, like we've talked to some of us, move forward with all of our bus routes being filled with bus drivers. That's a great bonus and plus for our students and our families. I know that they also are working, having their substitutes and floaters, having some extra people on call
That's great.
to do the best that we can, that we don't cancel bus routes anymore unless there's an extreme situation, yeah.
We get to sleep an hour later because we don't hear that. At 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh.
Bus 82 will not be running today. Thank you.
And I do want to thank, I know that, again, there's a transportation coordinator's board report, but just to piggyback on that, you know, our fingers crossed, our job is now retention, right? Just like any other job and any other position we have. But to all the principals, and I know your staff's not here, but thank you for the coordination. I know it's frustrating, but when you're at the school, and at the end of the day, when the schools are coordinating either through radio or other conversations, reminding students, organizing, building a system to make sure that the kids are either pickup or getting on a different bus or whatever system we had. Thank you all for sticking with it, and you know, we were hoping that by November, mid-November, we would hit the target, so we were pleased with that, yeah. So thank you to all the principals and staff members at the schools. Right, ready to move on?
I believe so.
All right, support services, special projects, and other items. Any questions or discussion for transportation coordinator, tech coordinator, maintenance coordinator, or food services coordinator's board reports? I'll give you some time. They're looking at you, President Armino.
Oh, everything looked good
No,
to
I
me.
think everything's been said, but for transportation, that's amazing.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Big accomplishment.
It was fast too when all of a sudden we didn't have nobody, then all of a sudden we had what?
Yeah.
Well, and I definitely appreciate Mr. Bell's report. I mean,
Yes.
there's depth to it, you know, it's not just numbers, and so it's been refreshing to read his reports. If a transportation coordinator board report can be interesting.
Interesting.
He does it, so.
He made it.
For sure.
They've all done good. We're proud of
President
them.
Armino, members of the board, we had I had my monthly meeting with Mrs. Young and Mr. Ritchie today, and we do have some work still being done with the light at the new field. But we also have an issue of breakers being tripped that is affecting the gym. And so there's some investigation that's going to be happening starting next week, even deeper on where a surge may be happening. Is it, you know, heaters coming on all at the same time and surging and breakers popping but the plan Mr. Ritchie presented us today with who he's working with, so we'll be moving forward with that as well, just in case you've heard it or not. But yeah, that's kind of frustrating. You know, it was working well, and then now that it got colder, some of the breakers are popping, and the main breakers as well. Yeah, but keep moving on that.
That can be a needle in a haystack sometimes, and you know, I know that our transmission lines are being upgraded in the area, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that is throwing a curveball in our operations in general. You know, I mean, there's there may be some connection, there may not be, but it definitely is worth looking into. I have noticed and wanted to say for quite a while, football field, the lights the most southeast in the middle of the game often would. I keep forgetting to bring that up, so.
Yeah.
But it sounds like.
We have that noted.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's all right.
Absolutely.
I kind of like it when it's off, but it's a little more relaxed.
I like this when those guys were setting all those lights in the new fields with their little laser. They would get up on top with their little laser, they would spot where they needed to go.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting process, I'll
Yes.
see that, yeah,
A
so.
lot of the feedback has been really positive as well on the fields.
Mhm.
Well, a lot of
I find it
compliments.
interesting how quickly we move past it, just, all the anticipation building up to it, and then once it's
It's up and running.
once
right?
it's up and running, you're just,
Yeah,
but it has been nice to be getting feedback from lots in the community, lots of people in the community that,
Soccer fields worked out pretty good. Those girls went a long ways.
absolutely. There was another walkthrough last Thursday, Mrs. Young, correct? It was last Thursday, to keep tightening up and shore up the punch lists, moving along before we take complete ownership of it. Yeah. And the last piece, again, just another thank you. This is a season of thanks, right? I put out there. The schools and in particular the food services, student nutrition, getting our Thanksgiving lunches for the students and the participation by our organizations, going out and serving and mingling and doing a great job with the elementary students and high school students. I think Principal, and maybe Principal Luce, over 700 lunches sold that day. 500 plus at the other elementary schools, and I know at the Early Childhood Center, there was a line out the door. Part of it was the system, which was really good to put in place, but we had great participation from the families, and it was wonderful to not just only see the students eating with their parents, but the grandparents that showed up and the other family members that participated. So just a public thank you to the student nutrition staff. Did a great job.
They did an awesome job.
Mhm.
So did the kids that helped from the high school.
Yeah, absolutely. Every year they do. All right, sir.
I think we're good to move on.
All right, moving to board policy. President Armijo, members of the board, you have in your packet, as well as I believe a hard copy of the new policy that is proposed to be adopted for the Moriarty Edgewood School District, policy ACB. This would be our first read, and any discussions?
Might be one of the shortest policies
Yeah,
that come
yeah.
from the policy.
One sentence, one sentence.
Yeah.
But that's just the beginning of
I think, I would say sort of the same thing for ACB as well as the first read on ACBB is just, when the policy service sent this out through the association, they made reference to HB 7. So HB 7 is the statute that is driving this policy. So I think it's important as board members that if you're not familiar with HB 7 to go ahead and maybe do a little bit of research on it. It's sort of to be reflective on the process is, we're not voting, after we go through a second read, we're basically acknowledging the statute. We're basically following the line, or following the law and falling in line with the statute. The legislature did approve HB 7 with some modifications, and I think for the best, that some of the modifications occurred. But it still remains somewhat contentious in portions of our population. And so I think it's important to learn a little bit about HB 7. There is I'm not sure as to the details of the referendum, but there was a referendum movement on HB 7 and a few other legislative initiatives and statutes and bills that look to put some of these issues before voters. And so, I would encourage, not that it would necessarily change the outcome of our votes, but I think it's important to know, sort of the evolution of that bill and why it's before a board, And I think one of the most important pieces for myself is when we take our oath, it's to protect the district and the assets of the district, and policy service, or policies in general, it's to communicate to our communities and communicate to our staff that these statutes exist, and they are the law. Like, we have to follow the law. That's what we do. We're law followers. And I think it's important to say, when you're protecting the district, is you have to communicate this to your staff, because if they were to break the law unknowingly, and we did not communicate that to the district, it opens us up to a liability as well. So I think it's important that we understand that piece of this. Another example I was given a while back was kind of a separate issue, but it was still a statute and a few other. Our insurance carriers, if you are not doing your due diligence through policy, you open yourself up to a liability in lawsuits, and your insurance may not assist you in damages. And so I think it's important that we also understand that that's a possibility with some of this. So I would just encourage people to familiarize themselves with HB 7 and maybe even a referendum.
Right. Thank you, President Armijo, for that.
So,
And President Ringo, members of the board, just let you know, if you need a copy of House Bill 7, I can get it to you readily available. If you'd like to go, and then we can have some more discussion on it if you'd like.
and it's a little shorter than Ms. Romero's board report, so.
Are you bullying her?
Superintendent, I believe, because I did go back and look at that, Charles, from New Mexico, that Mr. from Santa Fe sent out in August. I think it does have a connection to HB 7 in there.
Correct,
When you read it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have it in our emails if you still have
If
that.
you go back, yeah.
August.
It did make the reference to
It did, yeah,
August,
it
I
did.
think, August 8th or something like that. So,
Yeah. I can't say
yeah,
it.
Mr. Guillen.
Mr. Guillen, I can never
That's
say
what I
his
said,
name.
Joe.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay. President Mijo, members of the board, next is new policy again, and President Mijo referred to it, policy ACBB, Human Rights Act Protection for Gender or Gender Identity. This again is a new policy that is out of House Bill 207 that makes changes to the Human Rights Act, and it's a new policy issued to comply with statutory amendments. If you need reference to that House Bill 207, I can most definitely get that for you as well, for your review.
I think it's on the same email.
And these are both first reads, so.
Yeah, all right, any discussions?
I just was pointing out a typo.
No. All right. I think if there are any questions or whatever, you can, I would
No, I
say.
think basically what you said follows, this one
Yeah.
very
as well.
closely.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So, it's just important, so.
Thank you very much. All right, moving to item C, discussion and second read. Again, we made the change at the beginning of adoption of the agenda for policy AD, which is educational philosophy. The addition of a paragraph. Any questions, discussion?
I really, in reading through them again, I mean, I definitely can see, well, I guess first I would say, this is a little different from the last two that we just looked at. Those are almost mandates, you're basically adopting statute. But what's been refreshing about the other two on the agenda tonight is that it is local voice, and it is within our purview to make a policy as such. So reading it, it's nice to hear our local influence on these topics. So I I definitely like the changes and the input that we received from the last meeting. And I'm sort of speaking generically about both. So I definitely like the improvements, though somewhat small, but still, nonetheless, you can feel, our local commitment to our students through both of these policies. I will say that Board Member Howells, she couldn't participate this evening, but she did want me to communicate that, her support for both policies, and that she was very thankful that the district is looking out for kids with emerging technologies, that we're, setting up both direction, philosophy, but also setting up the guidelines and the guardrails for protection. So those were sort of her comments to me. So.
And the intent of creating and presenting this to the board, I think President Rios is exactly that. Our vision, it's the protection moving forward. There's going to be many trainings, conversations around emerging technology, AI, whatever component of it that you want, not only for school board members, but for educators across the nation. It's already a topic within the superintendents. It's been a topic within the superintendent's meetings and different organizations within New Mexico. Again, the School Board Association, CES, PED are trying to formulate not only these trainings but talking points. And I think our forward thinking and the movement from this district, especially with technology, we've always been that way. I shouldn't say always, but we've been that way for many years. And this is just on par again to protect the students and our assets.
And just as soon as we get this in place, it's already evolved.
Yeah,
It's so
absolutely.
fast moving.
All right.
All right. Anyone else? Any more discussion? If we don't have any more discussion and we're fine with our second read, then I would recommend adoption of the proposed changes to policy AD, educational philosophy.
We have a recommendation from Superintendent Viviano to approve policy AD as noted in the changes, educational philosophy. Any questions? If there are no questions, then I will need a motion for approval.
I move that we approve policy AD, educational philosophy.
All right, and a second? I'll second. So we have a motion and a second. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Moving on. Mr. Chavez, I did not hear you. I might have missed it. Are you a nay?
Yeah, more or less, but
So how do you vote?
How do you vote?
Mhm.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, President Armijo, members of the board. Item E, discussion and second read. Proposed new policy in addition, adding information and language in here about AI, artificial intelligence, and other emerging technologies. This is policy IJND, technology resources.
This is our discussion and second read.
If I may, members of the board, it was presented to you in our last board meeting. In this policy that was presented to you, we had our narrative on the top, our policy language, and then starting with guidelines down, which are student responsibilities, onto professional development, with some advice and looking at the way that our other policies have been created. I would like to have discussion on separating from guidelines, where it says student responsibilities and transparency, down to professional development, and move that into our regulation. Regulations are really set forth for our day-to-day operations on how we implement a policy. And would like to have a discussion and just moving towards adoption on the top part above guidelines and under artificial intelligence and other emerging technologies, if that makes sense. Separate it.
And so you're saying.
So
Go ahead.
would we be creating another, like,
A regulation.
so it would be maybe a separate than what it is now?
Yes, ma'am. It would be, so it would be the adoption of policy IJNDC as written in the narrative. And
Okay.
then from guidelines down, it would be IJNDC regulation
Okay. I see
which
what
we
you're
can
saying.
move forward.
Basically moving the guidelines into,
into a regulation,
Mhm.
which we can move forward to.
gotcha.
Can they coexist? I myself kind of like the fact that it calls them out as guidelines, but that it, they definitely read as regulation. There's no two ways about it. But I mean, I would assume that they can coexist together.
They can.
In the policy. The guidelines can be part of the policy. Let me look at some more here.
So,
I think
so
that.
we can leave it as is, most definitely. But if we're staying consistent through our other policies, you have the policy, and then you have the day-to-day operations that brings into a regulation. That's the easiest way to explain it.
And the regulations would live, student handbooks,
Mhm.
employee
Yes, sir.
handbooks.
Yes, sir.
And so parents would have an opportunity to see them there.
Mhm.
But the general public, if they did not receive a copy of our student handbook, would they have access to that? I mean, that's kind of why I'm kind of comfortable with it.
Access to all of our policies and regulations are available to the public.
Okay. The strengths for me, once again, are the protections. I definitely, we've had two AGs very involved in student privacy, via technology, and I like that this policy addresses that.
Superintendent, Viviana, I like the change from guidelines to regulations because I do think it just puts that emphasis on, it's not just a guide, it's
It's
the rule.
a policy that follows the philosophy that was just adopted. And then it is, again, whether we use the word guidelines or our
But it's
mode of
regulated.
operation,
Yeah.
and how we would safeguard and proceed
Protect.
and implement the policy.
Okay.
So to answer President Armijo's question, all policies, all regulations are presented to staff, students, and the community, or they're available. And when a policy like this is created, which is going back to what you're saying, it's ours. It's our local decisions. Any trainings, they will be presented with both the policy and the guidelines and regulations.
Okay.
And so, for the sake of the second reading discussion, just so I understand it correct, I mean, it literally just the narrative from the top would be our policy and everything else.
Everything else will move into regulation, yes, sir. It doesn't take away any of the importance or.
Accountability would be my other.
What's that?
Accountability would be
No,
my other.
it doesn't take away any of our if you look at our code of conduct, our code of ethics, we have policies and then we have regulations. that lay out more specific situations that may be violations of code of conduct or code of ethics violations. So, you know, if we look at this, we have our policy and then the way that we want the policy to be adhered to. The way we regulate it, the way that we hold people accountable, and the district accountable.
Being that this came out through sort of an organic process, you did run this by legal as well, correct?
Yes, sir. Our attorneys were presented with this, and they too are in the opinion that it should be a policy and then move the piece down from guidelines to regulation for various reasons. Part of it is the accountability and being able to make sure that our staff members and students are following what our vision and our hopes would be. They made that recommendation, and one other change under professional development. The last bullet, the school district, we had shall and we put may provide professional development.
And regulations does not require board approval.
No, sir. No, sir.
All right. Any other questions? Changes? You know, I think for myself, as long as, you know, if it, through the guidelines pieces of it, you know, definitely a lot of work, you know, from the committee went into that. So I definitely want to honor the work of the committee with those protections in place, you know, so I think that part is there's a lot of work there, you know, so I definitely,
Yeah. That's why my recommendation would not be to amend any of the guideline piece on down,
yeah.
other than the word may, from shall to may,
Mhm.
and still keep it in a regulation, which helps us again with the operational piece of this.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, suggestions? All right.
All right then.
So I think we're ready for your
Okay.
recommendation.
President Armijo, members of the board, I recommend adoption of policy IJ ND C, right? NC, technology resources with the recommendation of the policy being adopted, the narrative on top, and from guidelines down, move to regulations.
All right, so the recommendation from Superintendent Viviano to approve policy IJNDC with the modifications of keeping the narrative but moving from guidelines included down to regulation. Do we have any questions, changes? If there are none, I'll need a motion for approval.
I move that we approve policy IJNDC, technology resources with the approved changes.
All right, so we have a recommendation, or we have a motion, second?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All members in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? You sure yet? Take your time, sir.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this AI. I mean, I'm old school. I know it's 2022, 2023 or 24. But I'm having a hard time with it. Kids need to learn to think for themselves instead of just going to the computer and stuff like that.
Well, I think a lot of that is addressed in the philosophy as well, and the previous as well as this, but I definitely respect your concerns. Like, I think that
And a lot of people have called me about it. You know what I mean? They're really afraid of it. Everybody's afraid of it.
I think
We're not letting kids do what God made them to be. What we're gonna end up here pretty soon is there will be a bunch of zombies and a bunch of robots to where you won't be able to think for yourself. You know what I mean? And that scares the heck out of me. I see it happening already. You know, you go to a restaurant, people are all sitting, a family of 6 will all be on their phone. Nobody comes to conversations with it. So it's really scaring the heck out of me. But seeing that it's 2023, 24, we've got to move on, so. But I'm just telling you guys that it's really, it's happening.
I think that's probably one of the most important pieces of this, and one of the most important pieces in the committee. Your concerns were definitely tossed around as well. I think they're shared by educators, by citizens, there's a lot of people who have the concern. One thing I like about a policy, as well as regulations, is the emphasis on the ethical use of it.
I see, I've read policies,
Yeah.
and I agree with a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I still don't agree with AI. You know what I mean? Artificial intelligence, I still don't agree. I can't wrap myself around it.
You know what, it could be the reason for the power fluctuations. I don't know if you guys have seen the data servers, the facilities that it requires to run these things. It's quite an impressive amount of energy that it's requiring just to run the servers that produce it. But so he gave us an approval, so it's unanimous. But I respect that, Mr. Chavez, I really do. And I thought of you much throughout the process as well, in committee. You and others as well, the concerns. So, but thank you for the vote.
I remember when we were growing up, we'd all hang around our cars and we'd fix our cars, all the cars. Now you can't even look at it. And it's because of the AI. You know, it's just not, right.
It's definitely, I think one of the other pieces I like about the first policy as well is just classifying, or this one as well, is emerging technologies. I think it's important that we understand that our world is changing, and there are things yet dreamed up, and our kids.
And that's the only reason.
Will have to be.
That's the only reason that I'm voting yes.
Yeah.
Because the world is changing, and this is what the world's coming to. But still not.
Yeah, the linemen, just some of the initiatives that the linemen are going to have to use. Some of the initiatives with the avionics and the drone capacity. It's all going to be driven by some form of artificial intelligence. It's machine logic. Some of it's
robots.
Machine logic versus AI are two different things, but ready or not, here it is, and here it goes.
It is.
So.
And if I may be,
And I see it. I see it like a game. You know what I mean? I see it like when Pac-Man came out. I see it that's the way all the people are doing now. It's just like a game anymore. It's not really what's supposed to be. It's like a game anymore. It's who can do better than everybody else, and then it's all the technology. I know that technology is here and we can't change it, but it's still.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to see what's going to happen in 2030.
So I appreciate your vote, and I respect what you're saying as well. And we will work, and we've had very long conversations about keeping that human element, a piece of the education of this, but we provide opportunities for the kids.
I've got a grandson. He's in third or fourth. I forget what grade he's in. Very smart boy. He told me, Grandpa, in the future, humans are not going to do nothing. All robots are going to be doing it. Scary.
You mean I don't have to bust my knuckles?
No, but you go watch, what's that movie? I forget, I tell you all the time. They were based for 2023.
Oh, yeah.
Mad Max. And that's what the world's coming to. Look at it, watch them. Scary.
and I have to agree with Albert. I mean, I'm old school too. I mean, I grew up in a very different time. But I do appreciate, and I have come to respect and trust your judgment. And yeah, and we are old school, but things have advanced beyond us, and we don't necessarily like everything that we see and everything that we hear. The human content is very important in it. Parents and grandparents are very important in it, and how we mentor our children, how we mentor our grandchildren, to help them know there is a right way and a wrong way to everything. And I appreciate all the safety measures that you want to include to make it integrity and to make it safe. And I mean, it's been around us for a long, long time, but you know, I grew up in the time of the Jetsons, and we're living the Jetsons, you know, and it's a very, scary thing in a lot of ways.
When we were in the third, I guess I better not talk about it, but whenever we were in the third, fourth grade, they used to tell us that in the future, we were going to be able to talk all over the world in a little box.
Right.
In the future, you're going to be able to put your food in a little tiny box, and you're going to be able to cook your food. There's the microwave, there's the phone so far.
Yeah. So many of the things that were cartoons for us, or you know, are reality now. So it's interesting. Thank you all for your due diligence and what you do to make it right.
I know that you guys will lead our kids the right way.
The right way.
We appreciate your trust. Thank you. Absolutely.
And it's definitely, we've talked before about creating students, you know, who enter the world as contributing citizens, good citizens. You know, and I've mentioned it before that digital citizenship in our day and age is just as important as creating citizens, because the digital world does basically run in line, in parallel with our other laws. You know, you can, and so I'm so thankful for the, like you had mentioned, the diligence to make sure that the safeguards are in place. So this is the longest conversation after a vote ever.
But I appreciate it.
Yes. No, it's important. It's good.
All right, moving on, events planning. Item A, request for discussion, items considered for December. Any board members have any discussion, anything that they want for December other than what's listed on 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Not that I can think of.
Winter graduation, Moriarty High School winter, December 20th, 3 o'clock at the PAC. Right, I had that correct.
How many do we have?
That was what I say. How many?
Well, they're not finished yet.
Well,
Potential
graduates.
We have between 4 and 10.
Oh, okay.
Some of those are early graduates, some of those are semester late graduates, and some of them have chosen to walk in day with their class. So we're expecting between 4 and 7 on that day.
Okay.
If you're interested in attending, just let me know, if you don't mind reaching out. Okay, appreciate it. And then the New Mexico School Board Association Annual Convention Conference, the 30th through the 2nd. There will also be, in my weekly updates, as I get events that are happening. You know, we'll start ramping up some of the winter extravaganzas and musical concerts coming up. And I'll keep you updated on all those, on that schedule. We also have it on the district calendar as well. All right.
I need something to do besides cook at home.
We will keep you busy, Mr. Chavez. All right, if that's it then, President Armijo. I recommend adjournment of tonight's meeting.
All right, so the recommendation from Superintendent Review for adjournment. We got a motion.
Second.
And a second. All members in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.